Hi everyone. So this morning I had an advert come up on my Facebook when I checked my Facebook, and it was of St. John Bosco. So when we went to India, when we went for my uncle's wedding, we were his flower girls, myself and my sister. We used to go to the Don Bosco church in India, and his passion, his teaching was for youth, to help youth and train youth, and that's where my passion comes in as well. He's a saint that we believe in the church for Our Lady Help of Christians, because Christians have always been under attack since the time of Jesus. And for my mother, it's very hurtful and disappointing to see how when I need help, when I need people to be there for me, everybody lets me down. And people say to me, I don't know how you keep going. I don't know how you manage to stay positive and to stay focused on your search. I think one of the things that I do is I focus on Our Lady Help of Christians, and I ask her to strengthen me, to help me, to not give up hope. Because when you go through what I've gone through, it becomes very disappointing if you're putting your faith in people. Because people are cruel, people are unkind, people are looking out for their own best interests. And they don't think about what they're saying, they just say whatever they like. I think if you've been trained to think before you speak, if you've been trained to develop a contemplative spirit, that starts in your home, and it starts with your parents guiding you, with the domestic church. And that's what we had in our home in India and our home in Zimbabwe, because words can also be very hurtful, but words can also be very healing. For me, my Aunt Teresa said to me, "Oh, you don't come across as confident." So I said to her, I don't know what you mean by that, because for me, I am confident, and my managers see me as confident, my friends see me as confident. I think when you live in America, the way the Americans are, it's like, "Hi, I'm American," and it's people have gotten over that, like they're not interested anymore. Like, if you're American, so what? And you haven't done anything phenomenal for me as an individual. There's nothing that I can look at you and say, "Oh, America's the greatest country in the world." It might have been once, but every country has its own unique heritage, culture, and people are tired of it. Right? And my aunt also said to me, "Oh, you know, it must be very, very hard for you, and you must be losing confidence." I said, "No. I go through periods of not being confident, just like everybody else, but I am confident." And I think it's important for us to remember that, because if we don't go into prayer, if we don't take it into prayer, we don't go to Our Lady, we don't pray about things, that type of feedback can become soul destroying, because it's coming from your own relatives. So they are looking at things, and they're looking at it from their perspective of what they think is confident. That may not be acceptable or even valued in a Canadian context. I was coming home from church, and I was walking with one of the ladies I know, and that's exactly what happened. This woman came up and she wanted a prayer card. So she's like, "Hi, I'm American." And the lady I was working with just turned around and told her off. She's an older lady, she walks with a walker. And she said to her, "I wouldn't go around telling people that here. The Americans are not liked, and with everything that America's doing to us, people are not interested." And I'm paraphrasing, obviously, I can't remember exactly what she said, but it's true. So, when you come from America, don't think that because you are American that people are bowing down to you, and that you have great material wealth, so people are admiring you for that. They're not. Especially here in Canada, we're not. Because if you can't use your gifts and you can't use your material wealth to help your own family and your people who are struggling in Canada, people are not going to show that respect for you. And this lady, I told her, you can go to the office if you want a prayer card, that's where they have them, or you can go into there's a room on the side of the church. Normally after Mass, there's people there that can help you. So, and then I left them, and Geraldine carried on talking to her. I didn't say anything to her because Americans really need to do some self-reflection on their attitudes, on what they see as confident, on who they see as confident. And I mean, obviously, if I'm going through unemployment, there will be days where I don't appear to be confident, or I don't appear to be upbeat, or, you know, there are people who are in the Maxwell leadership, for example. They're very like, hey, it's a great morning, isn't it today? Let's get this rolling. Let's see what we can do. Bring your energy to the office. We are not like that in Canada. And we're not like that in Zimbabwe either. So it really is culturally oriented. And that's why I would say for people like me who grew up with different saints in the home, different devotions, we don't focus on one thing. Even the Ignatian spirituality, I didn't focus my whole life on Saint Ignatius, and I gave them my gifts, my talents. I've enriched the Jesuit community with my life. And when I've needed them, they haven't been there for me. So the Jesuits don't have a very good reputation, to be honest, in many communities, in many churches, because that's what they do. People help and help and help, and then when you go to them and you say, I need you to help me with this, they're like, oh, sorry, we can't do anything. So people have lost the respect they had for the Jesuits, because especially when it's somebody like me who helped them not only in Southern Africa, but in England and in Canada, the parish priests are like, well, why aren't they helping you? Why aren't they helping to open doors for you? Why aren't they doing things to help you get to those good paid jobs? They have many ministries, they have many universities, and I don't blame them. I don't blame them, because I didn't come to them as a teenager or as a naive girl. I didn't ask them to put their trust in me. I put my trust in the Lord. And they saw my gifts and talents, and they invited me to come and study theology and to learn, because many people in life are wounded, whether it's by war or by losing a loved one or divorce or the abuse in the church. Many of us are wounded by what has happened to us in life. And so my gift and calling came out of that, out of my woundedness, out of my brokenness. And I suppose they saw that, like Saint Ignatius, it's that woundedness that brings us to the Lord. But for me, it didn't start out from my woundedness. It started out from a place of joy and celebration and being in a loving family environment with my dad when we were young, and then later on with my mom, who encouraged devotion, encouraged us to go to church, took us to church. So for my mother, it's very hurtful that all these people that I've helped, especially the Jesuits like Father Peter Knox, Graham Pushen, Chris Chatteris, all these men that I've helped, when I need their help, they're not there for me. And in fact, some of them have been very cruel to me. Like Peter, when I told him I want to stay at Trinity, I don't have anything else to go to, and I don't have a place to stay. He could have kept me with him because I was close to him. And he used to come out with us, he used to sit with us, have coffee for us. He saw how, he saw how I organized the food for the students. Myself and Myrtle Townsend used to do it. We used to go out, take the bus, buy the food for the month, and then we would take turns to cook. I helped him to organize fundraising events, and he didn't come into that community without, I was there first, before him and before Bruce. I was there with Graham Fusion. So Graham was very upset that he kicked me out of Trinity House. He's like, well, why? I said, I don't know, Graham. It's very hurtful. And I was in tears when he told me. I was very, very upset. And he's like, this is how it is, and I'm not taking you back in. So that's what happens to me. And it doesn't just happen with Peter. It's happened with other priests, other people that I've supported. When you give and you help people, you want them to help you in return. So it's not like my whole life was focused on the Jesuits. I've had the enrichment of having, we had a calendar that used to get sent to my mother in Zimbabwe from India. And on that calendar, we would have the day that was dedicated to each saint. So I've had that enrichment of knowing which day is dedicated to which saint, and then praying with that saint for that day. And Saint Don Bosco was always a treasured saint in our home, because he's the one that was always for the youth, praying the rosary and helping youth to come up in life. So even the John Maxwell, like, they have secular platforms where they take and they train for youth. They help you with youth. For me, that started in the home with a holy context. And from there, I took it and I went out into communities and parishes and everything else. But the Jesuits have done nothing to help me. It's not, they didn't do for me what they did for Anne-Marie and Francis Correa. And the reality is that they're white. They were born into a white privileged society in Johannesburg. And Peter Knox is white, Damien Howard is white. They came from families who were not like us. They were not dirt poor. So when I ask for that help, I'm not asking for it for nothing. And if they don't believe in me, it's neither here nor there. It doesn't really matter to me, because I don't put my faith in them. And it took me a long, long time, because my mother saw that it used to hurt me, because when you love, you want that love to be reciprocated. And if they were not reciprocating that love, I was like, you know what? I can't keep doing this. Like, next time you fall down, don't expect me to pick you up. Because that's what the Sunday Gospels were about. If you have financial resources, if you have resources where, you can help others, then you are obligated to help others, not to hoard it for yourself. And so, I like the Jesuits. I have relationships with them. I do what I can for them, but they're not my world. I didn't build a career with them, and they could have had me with them easily. Peter Knox could have had me with him. Damien Howard could have had me with him. They could have had me with them on the journey, but they couldn't be bothered to make that resource, to make that position available, to bring me in, so that not just they could come up and become doctors in the church, but so that I could too, and so that my family too could benefit. So that's why I keep an eye out for my younger cousins, because I've been through this with them. So I don't want them to get hurt thinking, like, don't put the Jesuits on a platform. Like, people like, oh, the Jesuits. They are very hard men sometimes. And it's really not fair to me what they've allowed to happen to me. Because even when that investigation closed, I told them, I said, I'm not accepting this report. And Wilma said, well, some of the colleges, they can't hire you if you don't take the treatment. I said, Wilma, I didn't do anything wrong, and you guys know it. You know that Credit Suisse is corrupt. You know what happened to me, and you know what's happening at TD. TD is also full of corruption. She's like, yes, I do know, but the thing is that I don't know how much you'll be able to get through if you don't agree to that medication. I said to her, I'm not taking it. The problem was that they educated me. So I had people like Sister Kathleen McAlpin and other people, other professors like Michael Kalachik saying what these drugs do to people and how they take women in and then they abuse them and children, and the filth of the healthcare industry. So they already educated me to make an informed decision. They couldn't expect me to take that treatment knowing that the cards were stacked against me and that the banks wouldn't tell the truth. So anyway, it might be a sobering message, but it's the reality. Peter Knox hurt me very, very badly. And my friends knew it. They couldn't believe that he wouldn't let me stay at Trinity for another year. They're like, but you're so close to him. I said, I was close to him. I'm not close to him anymore. So as far as he's concerned with me, he's a priest now, and that's his vocation, and he keeps in touch with me occasionally, but that's how it is. So it was disappointing for my friends. My friends were hurt by what he did, but thank God I did have Simon Johnston there, and I had Timothy and William, and they gave me a room in the house. But even there, my mother had given me a beautiful bone china dinnerware set, and they had put up some shelves and things, and it wasn't done properly. So that shelf fell, and all those things got broken. And for somebody like us, somebody like me, who has very little money, it's heartbreaking when that happens, because it's somebody else's shoddy work that results in me losing everything. And the same thing happens here in the workplace. I do a good job, I'm professional, I get the stars for the customers, I resolve their problems, and then when the cutbacks come, they let me go. So it's important that we put our trust and our faith in God and not in people, because people are looking out for their own best interests. And we were not raised in our home by mom and dad to put ourselves first. We were raised to put others first and then think of ourselves. So that's why it was so hard for us. That's why it was so hard for me. Because in America, people put themselves first. In Canada, people put themselves first. And so I've had to change. And it killed my mother to tell me. She told me, you have to put yourself first now. I said to her, yeah, but I'm trying to balance it. And she's like, these people here, they don't care. So it's unfortunate, because the Jesuits should have thought that I grew up without my dad. I had to take on responsibility for the family. We came from a poor family, and they should have put systems in place to help me. Because I told them, I even told Father Michael Kalachik, they don't do anything in the workplace to help us. And I didn't support affirmative action, but now I do, because they take advantage of us. And then people like Teresa Bowman turn around and tell me that I have an attitude of entitlement when she grew up with white privilege. She grew up with people supporting her, and she had Warren Bell to open doors for her at TD. So it's the hypocrisy of what they do. And even the Jesuits taking us into slavery, that happened in Goa. They took us into slavery. So I would say, yeah, have your relationships with your priests, be available, help, do what you can. But, at the end of the day, don't expect them to be there for you. Because what was done to me was very, very hurtful. And it hurt Graham. It hurt Graham Fusion, because Graham was the one that brought me into Trinity. And Graham was the one that gave me the responsibilities. And through me, Peter Knox was accepted by the students. He went through a hard time when he came into Trinity, because we were used to Graham, and Graham was very gentle with us. He was very nurturing. Peter's very, very different to Graham. So it was hard for me, and then I had to adjust to living there on my own. We had break-ins, we had all kinds of things, and I was a single woman on my own. I got attacked in South Africa outside Trinity House, but I adjusted and I carried on. So that's why I told my aunt, I am confident. I don't know what the Americans think is confident, but I am confident. So it's important to remember that. And I don't have a job with the Jesuits. If they want to hire me, they must create a position. I've asked them before, I've offered before, and I put my trust in them. They also put their trust in me. It was a mutual relationship. But my foundation starts in my home. It's not the Jesuits. I don't give them the credit for how my formation was done, what was done. Yes, they trained me in their formation, in how they view the world, in how they carry out their work. So they did all that, and then they just left me. To me, it doesn't make sense. If you're going to bring somebody in, you're going to train them, you're going to educate them, you're going to teach them how to do the exercises, what to do, and they've helped you from a young age. It doesn't make sense what they're doing to me. Because people don't want people who are going to let them down when they need them. They want people who are going to be there for them, who are going to try to help them. Father Larry hasn't been successful in getting me a position with him or in the Archdiocese, but at least he's tried. He's put my name forward. He's talked to the other priests. Even all the other priests that come to my parish, they all love me. They all have gone back to their own communities in India, in Africa, different parts of Canada, and they told me, Belinda, we're going to pray for you, and if something comes up where we can get you into work, we're going to take you. So that's what I want. I don't want emails from Peter telling me that, oh, we don't have anything, or from Damien, a complete silence. I don't want that. Because if I've shared my life with you, I've shared my heart with you, I've shared my love with you, it should be reciprocated. All the young novices that come to my church, when they're leaving, they cry. They hug me and they cry, they hug me and they say, you're like a mother to us. That's how much I mean to them. And I don't do much. I'm just a presence in the church. I just help where I'm needed. But that's how they love me. I would like to see that love coming from Peter Knox and Damien Howard, because they say they love me, but what are they actually doing when they know my life is sinking into poverty? I don't need the support to go to South Africa for them. I need the support for me here in Canada so that my life doesn't keep deteriorating and sinking into poverty. And I know they're watching my videos. It's good. They must watch it because they're big, high-powered men with the Jesuits. And what are they doing for me? Nothing. Oh, and one thing I must add to that. The only other person that helped me in South Africa is Matthew Grosset. That's love in action. He helped me to get my job with the Johannesburg Child Welfare Society because I was a good student with him. He helped me. And sometimes he messages me, he stays in touch. That's love. That's love. When you say, Belinda, I'm going to try. I told him, I said, Matthew, I want to come home. He's like, you can't come home. There's nothing here. You can't come home. I said, but there's nothing for me in Canada either. That's love in action. When somebody like Matthew will help open doors for me and who has a personal relationship with me, not what Father Damien Howard is doing to me and Peter Knox is doing to me. That's not love. You say you love me, but where is that support? Where is that support to get me into a good paid job like you guys did with Anne-Marie or with Francis Carrera? It's not there. So then don't tell me that you love me and don't tell people that you love me, because it's not love when you do that to me.